Recruiter Show. We've got a great show on tap today. Today I've got two guests joining me, Scott Sinatra and Nick Kirkus. They are going to introduce us to an awesome new platform, and I'll give them the opportunity to do that on their own when we get to that part of the show. But these two gentlemen are on to something really, really cool, and ultimately what they're doing is helping HR teams, recruiting firms, and hiring managers better leverage their networks for talent and creating better opportunities for sourcing within the network. So we're going to get into that today. We're going to dive into really how to use network effects to open your sourcing channels. So before we get into a lot of fun stuff, if you are with us live, if you can go ahead and tap that like button or drop a comment, let us know that you can hear us here. That would be awesome. And as always, for those of you that join in, feel free to engage and ask questions. All right. Scott, welcome to the show. Nick, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. Well, let's start with you, Scott. Give us a little bit brief background, of, your career journey and a synopsis, of where we're at here today.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I'm addicted to startup life, as you could say. I've been a part of three successful startup exits, actually, two of which are in HR technology. I was very early at Glassdoor, where I built the go-to-market and revenue functions from zero. I then transitioned to become a founding executive at a company called Glint, which was in the employee engagement and analytics industry and space. 5 years after we emerged from stealth, we sold that business to LinkedIn. So it's a big part of LinkedIn, and in fact, now Microsoft's employee engagement strategy commercially. So as I was transitioning out of those last two startups, after those successful exits, I was considering starting something else and starting something new. And as I was considering all of those options, I was contemplating, my life in startups and my life as a leader, as a business leader for so many years, and how many people I've recruited and how many people I've hired over those years. I hearken back to using network effects and or referrals in order to find the best people I could find, which was then ultimately the impetus for a conversation with High Alpha, which is an investor in our business. They're a venture studio as well as a venture capital firm. And in partnership, we landed on this idea to build a network effects business for recruiting, which we are calling Bountiful. And we can certainly go into more details, and we will go into more details in terms of what that does and how it works and all those good things. So that's basically how I landed where we are today.
Awesome, man. That's a fun track record of success, and I'm looking forward to digging into that a little bit more. Nick,
Sure.
Give you the opportunity to do the same.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Donnie. My trajectory is not totally dissimilar from Scott's. So I feel like I've been writing software my whole life at this point, which is it's at least half my life. I was fortunate to be involved in with organizations like Salesforce and Salesforce Marketing Cloud, Zoom, et cetera, with stints of startup life in between. And like Scott, I just fell in love with the process of building and creating. But you really have to have an attachment to the thing that you're building and creating. And as an organizational leader and as a hiring manager myself, the idea of leveraging network effects for hiring is not lost on me. And being close with recruiting teams and seeing the pain that they go through to handle, especially referrals at volume, that's something that really spoke to a mission, right? It's something I wanted to go and solve for, that was easy to attach to. So, and I, as a part of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, I had a tangential relationship with High Alpha, and I'd always been looking for an opportunity to work with High Alpha as a studio company. They produce some fantastic products and some fantastic companies. And then the connection, obviously, to Scott and his involvement with High Alpha was just a no-brainer. So coming on board to help bring the product to life, both from the product lens and the technical lens, has been nothing but a blessing.
Right. And I think, so for both of you guys, I don't want to say this isn't a passion project. This is a legit thing, but this is something you guys are genuinely passionate about at your core.
Yeah, 100%. And we wouldn't do it otherwise. At least
Right.
I can't speak for Nick, but I believe that's the case. And this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But there's a lot of pain associated with what we're trying to do here.
Yep.
We're in this process now of significantly having to educate the market in terms of the opportunity to leverage referrals in a new and an interesting and unique way. But the pain is real, and we're just trying to get to the point now where we've got broader adoption, both commercially for companies that are trying to hire the best, but also for agencies who are trying to build their agency practice and or extend their networks, giving them an unfair share or an advantage, if you will, in sourcing the best talent for their clients.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now before we go any further, like, just so we're all on the same page,
Yep.
could you explain what network effects are and how they relate to the recruiting industry?
Yeah, sure, of course. So let's unpack Bountiful in that context. Most companies today, right, offer a referral bonus for recruiting. The reason they do that is because they know that great talent sits in the networks of their people. And so they're trying to tap into the network effects, if you will, of tapping into connections upon connections to get to great talent, right?
Yep.
Now, that has existed for a long time. Most companies today do that without any software, without any automation. It's a very manual and very frustrating process for those company talent acquisition professionals to leverage.
Right.
And so it's very painful. So one, we recognize that. Two, it's also really well known that network effects are a great resource for recruiting. Most companies, it's 20 to 50% of their hiring comes from referrals. Just think back to all of your careers out there. And just count how many times you've actually been connected to opportunity, right? You didn't go probably directly to the hiring manager raising your hand saying, I want this job. That could have happened, but referrals are a natural way, right, of getting attached to something really interesting. And so we see this as an opportunity. Now, so there's the employee side of the equation, but getting back to your question around network effects, there's also a huge opportunity to leverage connections outside of the four walls of a company, right? So if you stick with just within the four walls of your company, if you're an internal recruiter, and we'll get to the agency side of the equation here in a minute, but if you're just focused on internal, you can tend to build really homogenous teams. When I was at Glassdoor, 86% of my hiring was from referrals, from employee referrals. 10 years ago, I remembered looking around the room saying, oh my gosh, we all look the same. This is 10 years ago. Fast forward, that just doesn't fly anymore. And so companies are looking for an opportunity to extend the network use case beyond the four walls of the company, which naturally and physically actually diversifies the talent flow.
Right.
So that's a huge thing that we are enabling in our products and services for companies or customers. Now, as we launched Bountiful, I have a lot of agency friends who came to me, and I was really worried actually that we would be considered competitive to what they were trying to do. And in fact, we got the exact opposite reaction. We got the reaction that says, we're looking for an opportunity to build out our networks, right? Further, connect more dots, connect to better talent, right? And we're looking for a mechanism and or a system that enables us to do that on behalf of our customers. That's one use case. The other one is, they can go to Bountiful, they can see an open position, they can actually register to become a scout for that position and supplement the income of the agency, right?
Yep.
To fill those positions as well. So continue to leverage your existing network to fill positions. So there's really two kind of tangential use cases where an agency could get tremendous amount of value by leveraging a system like ours.
Yep. So, Nick, anything that you want to add to that?
No, I hate to say it, but Scott summed it up, really well. The crowdsourcing, right, of talent is incredibly interesting, incredibly valuable. I mean, crowdsourcing in general is nothing new, right? So, but allowing folks to leverage and their own networks, to add value or pull value from their own networks in a meaningful way, right? They're not just earning income based on those network effects, but they're helping other folks land jobs. And in today's market, that's incredibly important, right? With
Yep.
as much disruption as there has been in the employment space.
Yep. Excellent. And guys, I'm with Scott Sinatra, Nick Kirkus live right now. If you guys are listening with us, tap that like button and feel free to go in and ask any questions about their platform, Bountiful, and we're going to continue to dig in here. So specifically, if I'm a recruiting firm owner, what should I be looking at when it comes to networking effects, and especially, Bountiful?
I'll start, Nick. You can jump in whenever you'd like here. If I'm an agency owner, I'm thinking about how do I extend my network? How do I build a web of recruiters that can help me source talent that gets me ultimately to fulfill the obligation I have with a client? And so using network effects is certainly a way to do that. That's the foundation of any agency, right? You've built a network. You're looking to maximize the potential of that network. We're going to help you make it bigger and broader, right? And more pervasive, and potentially even get you into more opportunity, right? So you can do that organically. You can do that naturally. You can do that through all sorts of techniques you all know, right? Or you can offer an incentive. And what Bountiful is doing is offering an incentive for people to participate. You as the agency owner get to decide how much you want to offer, right, in terms of participation in your network, participation into helping you source, become a scout. We call recruiters scouts in our world. But you as the owner get the opportunity to be able to take a fee that a client's willing to give you, right, and slice it and dice it any way you'd like in order to maximize the potential of your network.
Love that. Nick, anything you want to follow up on that?
I liken it to the street team concept, right? If you are able to incentivize folks to speak on your behalf and recruit on your behalf, right? And it goes beyond just the hire reward, right? We're allowing you to enable micro incentives and to establish teams and to look at the quality of the folks that people are referring in, but also the quality of the folks who are recruiting for you. If they're starting to provide you a lot of value, you might want to work with them more often. And I do want to call out, if it hasn't been said already, Bountiful helps manage that end to end, right? That's inclusive of payment, right? Which is really important. We're not adding overhead to an agency's workflow, right? In fact, we're probably reducing it by a significant percentage. I can get into that later, but that's important to note.
Yep. All right, cool. Now, I'm going to ask a question that I know a lot of agency owners are out there thinking. I think a lot of them will fall in this bucket. It's like, hey, this all sounds kind of cool, Scott, but why am I going to go share my network that I've built so hard and I've worked so hard to build? Why am I going to go now offer this to other recruiters? Like, where's the value add for me? Why would I do that? This is my network. This is the people that I can make the full fee on, so to speak, on a placement.
Yeah, good question. So if I'm an agency, I'm putting myself in an agency's shoes. Now, and I'd love to debate this actually and have a thoughtful conversation about this. But if a client comes to me and says, I need help filling a sales position, right? I can use my existing network of recruiters that I have in my firm or connections I have in the industry. And, I can do the same thing over and over again and hope for better or different results. Right. So to me, using a system like Bountiful to create more tentacles, if you will, right, that gives you broader reach, more diverse talent flow, right, enabling independent recruiters, right? Or people that actually may not even be a professional recruiter, but just has talent in their networks. Okay. Giving them an opportunity, right, to open up their network, share positions, right, which all funnels back to the agency. So there's a way for an agency to control and still take ownership over these open positions while building out their networks. They can be inviting people like the three of us, to participate and maybe offer us an incentive if we help them land, a candidate, as an example. So that's the incentive side of the equation here. But we're also making it really easy for people to share these positions out into these networks, to stay on brand. If you're an agency, you want to anonymize the name of your customer, can certainly do that, et cetera. So we have built, and we'll continue to build some tooling specific to the agency use case to maximize the opportunity and to still create that competitive advantage.
Yep. Nick, anything for you on that one?
No, not immediately. I am watching the chats come through. It is bountiful.us, not .com. Steve, just keep that in mind. You may end up at Nestle's website.
Oh, that's right. I've seen that before.
That's funny. So, kind of going off of that. So then how do I balance focus between quality and quantity of connections and people that you're adding into Bountiful and things like that?
Nick, why don't you take this one? You want to?
Yeah, balance is a great way to look at it. We are focused on quality, right? I'd rather get you 100 high quality candidates than 1,000 low quality candidates. So Bountiful looks at it through a couple of different lenses. First is the connection strength, and that is looking to see if there is a verifiable work history between a referrer and a candidate. Now, in crowdsourcing, there may not be. It may just be somebody has sourced that through their professional networks, and that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but the signal is stronger for recruiters if there's a close connection. It could be a personal connection or a professional connection. Now, the other side of that is the objective match strength, right? And that is, I should say objective, like skill-based analysis. So is that candidate even a qualified fit? So one of the challenges with referrals or candidates at volume in any capacity is whether or not whether they're right for the job, right? Should we even be spending the 15 minutes to have a quick phone call with those folks? Bountiful is surfacing signals that gives you more confidence and trust in the referrals coming across through the pipe, so that you can say, hey, that's a strong connection, and they've got a fairly significant match in terms of their skill or their background for the job profile. That's probably somebody we should be talking to. And now, by corralling all of those referrals at the same time, you talked about volume, or quantity versus quality. You're corralling all of those referrals in Bountiful. If you have an applicant tracking system or a CRM, we integrate with those so we can push those qualified candidates to them, to those systems for you. But at the end of the day, by corralling all those referrals and surfacing the highest quality or the highest likelihood of a good match, we're taking out the guesswork of the quality versus quantity equation. You can go focus your attention on the top 10, right? Yeah. I'm gonna pause there. See if you got any questions for me on that, Donnie.
No, Scott, anything you want to add to there, or you want to keep going into that, Nick? Or
nope. I think you nailed it.
You want to go deeper on that, Nick, or were you complete on that one?
No, Donnie would take up the whole rest of the hour. You're too hard on that. Why don't? Yeah.
I love it. So, you mentioned some of it earlier where this isn't going to add any overhead for a recruiter, but I know another kind of challenge that I would foresee is, and I think this is something that every recruiter is thinking of, is okay, well, here's another tech tool and that I have to go learn. What's the lift like? What's the value of taking the time to, understand and learn, tech again, and for something like this.
Yeah, Scott, I'll jump in. Let me level set for a minute. So when I say it's not going to add overhead, there's going to be a net equation to that, right? And that is that we're looking to alter the workflow and the process a bit. And by integrating with the systems you've already got, and allowing you to automate those things, we're looking to keep that net zero in terms of overhead. But the reality is that if referrals are your strongest source of talent, and we're surfacing the highest quality referrals, your next step after landing a contract for a job is to go to Bountiful and start tapping into those referral networks, right? So it's a paradigm shift in terms of where you're starting your search. It's different than going to, let's say, LinkedIn Recruiter and trying to do all the sifting and searching yourself and hoping that there's some connection. If you've got a solid stable of Bountiful recruiters, we call them scouts internally. If you've got a solid stable of these scouts that are working well for you, you're just going to go and tap them right away, right? And start working with those individuals. You don't have to search as hard is effectively what I'm getting after. Yep. Now the automation, that end-to-end workflow, it's everything from posting the bounty to managing communications with the referrers who are engaged, reporting on the health of your referral program, who's doing what, who are the movers and shakers, all the way through to payment. Again, we're minimizing how much work you end up having to do.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So it's really, you're just trying to, it's like you said, you're establishing kind of a new workflow, a new set of efficiencies that are going to show up. Scott, anything you want to add on that?
It's not hard.
Yeah. Okay.
One of our design objectives was to make this really simple for every stakeholder involved. And so we've gone to great lengths to make sure that people that aren't in technology every day will still be able to use it effectively and efficiently, et cetera. And so I think we've done a really good job of that. Excellent.
So a lot of the recruiters that I work with are kind of niche focused. My buddy Matt Barkus is listening right now. He's a civil engineering recruiter. So how is Matt going to find value when all he's looking for is civil engineering talent, for example?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah. So we use some targeting, right, in how we think about our scouts. Now, you can blast the open position or the bounty, in this case, to all of our Bountiful scouts. Just because somebody doesn't necessarily work in that, right, in that particular department or job category, doesn't mean that they're not going to have somebody in their network that does. But you can also prefer, right, scouts who are linked to those job categories, locations, if you have a location specific type job, things like that. If you're looking for seniority, right, if you're looking for an executive search, you're probably going to tap executives or folks who are close to executives, right? So we give you the tools, and we give scouts the tools to do some of their own preference, right? So they're getting notifications around open bounties across our ecosystem, right, not just yours. And so they're looking to see if they can get bounties that are relevant to them in their immediate networks. Now, something that we're doing, just to kind of tease a little bit here, right, is also candidate suggestions. And so we have been working on a system that will provide our scouts or our recruiters, if you will, suggested candidates from their professional networks that fit a job profile. Right. So if let's say you launch a profile in this particular category, it'll go through, if you've got scouts that are engaged, it's going to go through and it's going to look through their professional networks and highlight folks that they may not have been able to remember or known or talk to in several years, and say, hey, this person looks like a great fit. Would you want to reach out to them? This does a couple things for us, right? One is it alleviates the out of sight, out of mind, I don't know who is going to fit this role kind of problem on behalf of the scout. Mm-hmm. But it also elevates the quality of those referrals coming in the door. We're pushing that match strength and connection strength up front before the referral even happens. And then we're kind of continuing to expose that for recruiters as well. So that's going to play a part with that preference, right, in terms of searching and or filtering on either the recruiter side or the scout side.
Got it. Scott, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Let me jump in on this. So the way I look at it is you're either targeting individuals or you're actually targeting organizations. So we have this idea that, again, great talent sits in the networks of all of us. So if I'm certainly in the civil engineering world, right, that's a knowable kind of network of folks that I could incent to participate, right, in my search, et cetera. There's also associations and organizations that will be involved, and Matt will know this better than I will, right, from a civil engineering perspective, just as an example. So we actually believe that organizations who have stakeholders that they're looking after and trying to train and develop and help will want to participate, right, in a referral system or referral plan, just like an individual will.
Right. Okay. That
So
makes sense.
Bountiful can actually play a role, and you as an agency can play a role in being a conduit to enabling those associations, right, to siphon talent your way because they have an incentive to do so, right? If you hire somebody from their organization, you can offer them a bounty. The bounty could then go to continue to fund their operation. It's a virtuous cycle. And that's a bit of a marketplace concept that can be developed at the agency level, and something that we're really excited to continue to explore and develop.
That's awesome. Good feedback there. Got a good question that came in here, so I'm going to dive into that. So thank you for the question, Steve. What is the criteria for a scout to get paid? Like, what would a submission look like? A referral to me is just a resume and a name, and hopefully confirmed interest. A recruiter is required to do a lot more.
Yeah, great, Steve. First, thanks for the question, and a really good one. Nick mentioned micro incentives earlier in our conversation today. Like most referral programs, let's just level set for a second here. Most referral programs, they offer, the fee for the hire plus some sort of probationary or curation period. So it can literally take 6 to 9 months for somebody to actually get paid when they refer somebody into a position. In today's world, that just doesn't work. People are not motivated by that, right? So you're saying that I can maybe get paid 9 months down the road by referring people in my network. That just doesn't work. And so we built this concept around, we actually call that monopoly money. We've built this concept around micro incentives. And so what micro incentives are is you can take a bounty, any sort of referral fee amount. You decide as the agency recruiter or person that's managing the program, right, to say, okay, I want to assign $3,000 to this position. And I can say, okay, so 1,500 of that I'm going to pay for the last hop, the person that actually gets me the person that gets the job. Okay. But the other 15 can be used to reward the kind of behavior you're looking for from your scouts. So if somebody brings you a candidate that gets an interview, that's a proxy, right? Or that can be a proxy for quality. So maybe you want to be incentivizing people for bringing you good quality candidates, right? But you get to decide on what that looks like. You get to determine that criteria. But by doing it this way, you're now providing short-term, right, monetary incentive to help you. And this is the kind of spark that network effects want and need in order to activate. So we're just using money or referral fees, as an activation mechanism for people to peer into their networks, pull out the good stuff, get them to you. And if they do that, right, you're getting benefited out of that. They should get something for it. So,
Great.
Steve, does that help you? I mean, give us some feedback.
Yeah, Steve, definitely let us know follow-up questions you have that. Nick, anything you want to add to that there?
Yeah, a couple things. So, Steve is, maybe Steve, I'm reading too far between the lines, but when we talk about quality of the referral, right, not just this connection strength or the match strength that I was talking about earlier, but is this person getting an interview? Are they getting an offer? Are they getting hired? Right? Those are all components for us that would be easily attributed to an incentive, right, or a reward in this case. If you've got a scout, right, this third party recruiter that's on your team or participating in your bounties, and they've brought you 10 referrals, 9 of whom have made it to the interview round, that's probably worth looking at, right? So Steve, great point. So the deliverable ultimately is somebody that's hireable, right? If they're just filling up your bucket, right? Those candidates, let's say low quality. I hate using that when we're talking about people, right? But let's say low match, right? If they're just filling up a bucket with volume, that's not doing anything for you. But we're not going to surface those to the top, right? You're getting referrals from across our scout ecosystem or the folks that are participating in your bounties. and the ones that are hireable are going to come to the surface, right? So the deliverable is give me hireable or interviewable candidates, and that's what you can incentivize. They're not getting a reward just for putting people's names in a hat. That's not going to work. Now I want to add to this, and I hope I don't make it more complex, but I mentioned this street team concept, and ultimately, if anybody's been around the concert business, like I was way back in the day, street teams are really important, but you need more than one person. And street teams who bring on other street team members are really valuable for you. They're influencers for your recruiting efforts. You can also incentivize folks. So if you've got somebody who's bringing you a lot of high quality candidates, you can say, hey, if you bring me a few more folks like you, I can incentivize that as well, right? You want to grow that ecosystem, those folks that have deeper and deeper, wider and wider circles to tap into. That's how we get to the real value of network effects, which is the pockets of talent that you haven't been able to reach before. That's where we start to get into things like the breakdown of homogeneity across referrals, right? And you get into that true network impact. Stop right there, just so I don't overcomplicate things.
Steve, any follow-up questions? Oh, there it is. Perfect. Is it solely a resume?
So a way to think about it is these are leads, right? You still have work to do, right? We do not make decisions for you. We'll surface signals that these are folks that you should be talking to, but ultimately it's your decision as to whether or not this is somebody you want to talk to, and that or whether you want to funnel them over to your client. So solely a resume generally. So what we do is we take in the candidate, obviously their profile information, contact information, a resume or a professional network link, arguably LinkedIn being the one that we want to see if we can. But now the other side of this is that the scout has to provide some review feedback. And we've tinkered with this a bit, and we've got it to a point where we feel, and with proof points that it's generally unbiased, and low likelihood of gaming the system. But that is that those scouts that have brought in a referral have to provide some context. Why are they referring this person? Do they think they're a good fit? Is it a stretch fit? Where do they fall in this ecosystem, right? So from there, it's not just the resume. It's also a little bit of context around that. And I'll tell you, when we think about that connection strength, if this is like, I don't know this person kind of feedback, we effectively stop them right there, right? They're allowed to submit the referral. Just because they don't know somebody doesn't mean that the person's not a high quality match, for the profile, but we keep the connection strength low in those cases. So you can see that, hey, these are like, I don't have a way to validate this visually, that this is a good referral.
Now, I've got another good question that came in. How do you prevent people in your platform from going around the system and just contacting the agency directly and working out a standard 50-50 agreement for future placements?
So that's a bag of cats, and there are ways, there are mechanisms that we have in place to protect the agency first, right? Right. We want to make sure that agency has ownership of the candidate. So we have to be careful around that. Obviously, we need to protect Bountiful as well and the scout, so the scout's not getting cut out. So we've taken some measures to protect all of the stakeholders in the equation. But it's a great question, Matt. At the end of the day, humans are human, and there's not 100% way to stop somebody from skirting the system. If they see that there's a job opening and it's through this agency, they may just contact the agency directly, right? But we do our best. And that could be through, just as an example, through connections to the CRM or ATS. If the data for those candidates are there, and the referral information is on our side, we can connect the dots and do some legwork. And then, of course, we have timestamps on everything, so that if it's a matter of, let's say it's a race condition, if you will, on our system to an extent, right? But with some backup points, because we can't just rely on the honor system. We can validate if we've got bad actors, right? Because we can see through some of those integrations that, hey, this agency consistently puts in place people that we have brought to the table and they're not paying out their scouts, or vice versa, right? You have scouts that are skirting the system. There's certainly ways that we can do that, and we'll just eject them from the program, just to put it bluntly. we are keeping that in mind, and it is a full-time job to an extent to make sure that we're doing it right, because we don't want to make it harder for people to manage their referrals.
Scott, anything you want to add?
It's a very, very good question, actually, Matt. And yeah, I think you're right. Honor system to a degree, although we do have the forensics to be able to understand after the fact, to mediate any sort of discrepancies or issues.
I think one of the things that, is intriguing to me is that you guys aren't really you're not putting barriers on like how these deals can be structured, right? Like, it's like, hey, come in, kind of build the deal, create your own kind of behavioral type of, benefits, and then the kind of the grand prize, so to speak. But also with that can kind of come with like complexity, right? I come in, I've never done referrals before. Like, where do I start? Do you guys offer any like strategic coaching and training around like how to set up powerful incentive programs that are going to actually get people to work, right?
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, no question, actually. So you're not left to your own devices here. We're going to offer suggestions in terms of bounty amounts that have worked for others. We have an algorithm, but those are all conversations that we would be having with you in terms of what bounty amounts and the structure of your bounty payouts will get you the greatest results, right? And by the way, you can change it. So if we start with one pattern, it's not working, we can change it, we can shift it, we can start to evolve, right, based on your needs. So I think that's an important component, around flexibility. The other part is that we're assisting our clients with shareable assets. So when a company decides to work with us, they give us all sorts of information about their culture and about their company. We actually create a company page. You can do the same thing as an agency. And you can do the same thing on behalf of a client as well. And so what that means is that any shareable assets can be leveraged across your networks, so that people don't have to think about what to say or how to communicate or how to position an opportunity and or a culture, right? So we provide on-brand messaging to keep everybody on the same page. We think that's really important because it could get very Wild West out there in terms of what people are saying to whom. We try to control that to a degree on your behalf, right? So we just give you these really quick, easy to use snippets and shareable assets. So we're providing onboarding, right? It's not like we have this tool and we say, hey, Matt and Steve, go get them.
Yeah.
No, we're going to work on a strategy together. One, to teach you how to use it. It's not hard. Two, right, make some policy decisions, right, let it ride, and then come back together and see how it's working. Now, one of the important aspects of a solution like this is very clear communication. And we have built dashboards for you to understand in near real time what's actually happening in your networks, right? The kind of flow you're getting, the kind of response you're getting, the connection strength of the scouts to the applicants. All of these things are analytics that we provide you in a dashboard so that you can know, and you're instrumented for your business to know what's happening with your network effects, right, to source talent. Very, very important. So you're not guessing, right? The system is doing a lot of this for you.
That's excellent. Nick, anything for you on that one?
No, Scott summarized it really well. That's fantastic.
All right, cool. Well, shoot, guys, this has been awesome. There's been a lot of really good value you guys have dropped. We've got an opportunity to learn about Bountiful, but I want to circle back. I'm going to have a little fun here, and I'm going to put you guys a little bit on the spot. So, you guys, we're gonna have a challenge. See you later, Nick. Yeah.
Nick, you're going first.
We've kind of been all over the place, and I just want to give you guys a chance to give your elevator pitch. Why should Matt and Steve, why should they consider, exploring Bountiful? I'm going to start with you, Scott, and Nick, you're going to get the same question. Then we'll let the audience go in and see who had the better elevator pitch. All right.
Well, Matt and Steve and anybody else interested, we can help you expand your network deeper, farther, and faster than you can on your own. Right? Now, I get it, and I understand that your business is to network yourself into opportunities. And doing that organically is certainly a way to go, and it's the way it's been done for a long, long time. But if you use a system like ours, right, with an incentive basis to it, you're going to light up networks that you haven't seen before, which gives you more of an opportunity to source the kind of talent your customers are looking for, right? So we're going to enable you to dig deeper, stronger, harder, faster than you could on your own. And I think that's ultimately the value that a system like Bountiful provides you as an agency recruiter.
Perfect. There's Scott's response. You guys can evaluate that now. We're going to give Nick a chance to respond.
Yeah, normally I'd say the same thing Scott did, but so I'll take a slight sidestep to that, and that is that the referrals are a known source of high quality talent, and not only are you looking to expand your talent pools to draw from, but by putting those high quality folks into position. And getting them into companies, you're securing yourself as a high quality recruiting agency. We're just giving you the tools to do that better, faster.
Love it. Love it. Better, faster. So now the next question, Scott. If somebody wants to explore Bountiful that's listening to this right now, what would be the next steps that you'd want them to take?
Awesome. Thanks for that. Yeah. Ping me directly at scott@bountiful.us. So bountiful.us is our website. Scott is my handle for email. Ping me directly. Happy to schedule more time. We can show you the system. I realize we did not do that today, but we're happy to demo. We're happy to show you how it works and give you some ideas to help you propel your businesses.
Excellent, Nick.
So Scott@bountiful.us.
Awesome. And if you guys are with us live here on LinkedIn, feel free to just drop a comment if you're interested, and Scott and Nick can reach out to you guys from there. I know, Steve, you mentioned that you probably want to explore this a little bit more. Gentlemen, is there anything that I missed today that you guys want to, any final remarks? Nick, I'm going to start with you on that.
Donnie, I think you covered the bases, and ultimately the proof's in the pudding, right? So yep. I'd love to meet with folks and not just to show you what we've built and where we're headed, but also to get your feedback. Agency recruiting is hard, and it's not lost on us, the challenge that you have in front of you, given the current market. So, tap us for not just ideas and feedback on our side, but vice versa, right? So I'm excited to explore the product with you, but also want to hear from you and some of the challenges you're facing.
Scott?
Yeah, I love that. We're at a stage as a company where we're learning a ton from our customers and our partners. And you have an opportunity to influence, right, what's on our roadmap and how we're doing things through your feedback. So if you as an agency recruiter are looking to propel your business, expand your horizons, expand your network, and would like to use a solution to help you do that, we're the perfect audience for you right now. So give us a call or send me an email. Let's spend some time together, and we can co-create based on the foundation we've built so far, something that potentially meets the needs for your business and the way that you're thinking about building your business.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I was going to wrap it up, but we did get one last question. I do feel like it's relevant, so we'll go ahead and.
I saw that too. I'm glad you brought it back. So, Kurt, great question. All of the above. So our scout community is growing, right? So we're an early stage company. We're still building our network as well, and that's what's been great is that we have seen feedback and engagement from all different job categories and families, right? From frontline workers to office workers. And then on, right? Gig economy workers, et cetera. So what I think is really interesting is that folks are really compelled to leverage the networks they have and that they've built. I mean, we've been telling people that networking is the name of the game, right? For career advancement for decades, right? So, but then what? What do they do with it outside of just getting their next job? So it really is coming in from all different industries.
There's one last thing. I know we're going to wrap up, guys, but something just came up to me right now that I want to ask this. Because it's my show, my producer, who is me, too, is not going to fire me. So we're going to go with this here. But so let's say, I have such a pulse on the market. I know there's some certain recruiting agencies right now that are humming along, very busy, but I also know that we're in a very kind of tumultuous time with our economy and things like that. And hey, I could talk to one person, they're busy as heck, and I could talk to another person that can't get an order to save their life. So is there an opportunity, if I'm not ultra busy right now, to make additional income as an agency recruiter?
100%.
Yeah, as a scout.
Yeah, 100%. So in fact, I mean, it's a great call out, Donnie. One of the things that we've heard from other agency recruiters that we've been working with, just in terms of getting feedback on the platform, is the ability to use Bountiful as a potential source for other jobs. Now, that's not necessarily I'm putting my safe harbor wrapper on this, right? That's not necessarily going to guarantee you a contract with that company, but if they're offering if our enterprise recruiters are offering a reward or a bounty on their positions, it's certainly something that you could potentially source for and drop into. And you do that at volume, that's gonna be a big win.
Love it. So there it is. There's the additional income. Glad I caught that.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show and adding value and sharing your platform. Sounds like there's a lot of value out there for agency recruiters. Everybody, you guys have already heard on where you can reach out to Scott. Also check out bountiful.us. And if you're just kind of coming into this video kind of halfway through, this will be on my YouTube channel, YouTube/Donnie Gupton. And it's also going to be on my podcast, The Relevant Recruiter Show, later on this week or beginning of next week, where you can listen to it live and recap everything we just went over today. Next week on the show, we've got Will McGee. We're going to be talking about creating offers for recruiting agencies. So really excited about that. But Scott, Nick, thank you so much. This was an excellent time. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Donnie. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Donnie.
If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you tap that like button, leave us a comment, and we'll see y'all soon. See you next week.